Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm so happy you're here today, whether it's your first time or you've listened to several episodes. I hope these have been really helpful for you. And I just wanted to say that I'm so grateful that you are taking the time to listen to what I have to say. And my intention is always that I can give you some tools and tips that you can apply immediately in your daughter or the girl in your life's life. So today's topic comes from a situation that happened yesterday. So I always try and stay up to date with things I've noticed that have happened in the past and still happen between girls. And that is when friends are possessive over other friends. So this can come in many forms. But the situation from yesterday was that there was a group of kindergarten girls. And yes, we do teach all these really great tools and strategies at a young age. So we do, start that young, who were feeling very possessive over this one friend. So one of the girls was crying because the other girl said that she couldn't hang out with this girl because it was her turn. And, the girl had promised her. And then the other girl was like, well, she promised me too. And I want to hang out with her. And then there was the girl in the middle that they were describing. And she felt very unsure about what to do. So whether this is kindergarten, middle school, elementary school, high school, college, like these things, adulthood, these things come up for girls because I think we all value our girl friendships really so much. And we're always trying to find those people that we feel see us, get us, and that we can spend time with. And there are times when you can feel very possessive over the friend. So these girls were literally arguing about who was going to spend time with this girl. And so they were at a standstill, like they couldn't move forward. So this is when I stepped in, I helped them process through everything. So, before I go into like how we solved it and ways to do that, because I really want you to be able to talk with your daughter and the girl in your life, whoever that would be, about these things, because these things happen. And whether your daughter is the one who's possessive over her friends or she is feeling jealous about certain friends hanging out more than her, or if she is the one in the middle, like these things come up. And it doesn't mean she has bad friends or bad people in her life. It's just very common and something to work through. And so how this looks as the girls get older is not necessarily like, will you play with me? But it's more like, in elementary school, it's recess. And I see this so many times. I saw this so many times throughout so many schools. And it basically is the lack of communication with girls saying that they're going to hang out with this certain friend at recess, and then they change their mind and they want to hang out with someone else. Or they invite someone to join who maybe the one friend doesn't really love hanging out with. And it can also be that two of the friends are closer than the other friends. And so then they can feel a little bit jealous about who's spending more time with this person because they enjoy spending time together. So I think this all comes from a good place. It all comes from wanting to spend time with people who make you feel good and who you enjoy spending time with. So it's a totally normal feeling. And this even can happen with adults too. So recess is one situation where that happens. Another is birthday parties, sleepovers, spending time, just hangouts. As girls get older, this could be going out. This could be having school activities they go to, things like that. So really, there are different roles in friendships. We all know that. And there are different personalities. And really with a possessive situation, it can be, like I mentioned with these three girls, there's one friend who's very possessive or controlling over the other friend. In this case, both friends wanted to hang out with this girl, and one of them was like, no, you're not hanging out with her, I'm hanging out with her, and just not wanting to budge at all. So there can be that situation. And that can even, again, come up as girls get older. Like, no, you told me we were hanging out after school, going to do our homework, and then watch a movie, and why do you want to invite this other person? That doesn't seem fair. Or maybe like they really feel that way, but they know that it doesn't sound right to say it out loud, so they like stuff it and don't say anything. And then that builds like the resentment of like, I didn't ever want this other person to come over. I wanted you only to hang out with me. So that is how that can look in a couple different ways. And then there can be the girl that is in the middle who's like, I have a friend who's possessive over me. So it can also look like at a young age, you can't play with her at recess. You're not playing with her. Like we agreed, you're playing with me every day. It can look like that. Or it can be, if you don't play, this is a very young age, if you play with her, then I'm not going to be your friend. Like that's that kindergarten, first grade age is when that typically, and probably younger too, like that can come into play. And it's like they have this fear that if other people play with your friend, that you won't be friends anymore. And really that kind of evolves as girls get older and can look and can really surface in the same way and look very similar. So then it's like your daughter might be the one who has someone who's kind of like that, but doesn't know how to make it stop. Besides, like they don't want to be the person to like make that friend mad because they might be a little bit scared of her, which then I would question like, is that a good friendship for you? You know, and that's when those check-ins with your daughter about friendships are so important. There was a previous episode I did a few back that was about friendship, and I think you should go back and listen because I gave some tips on that. But this one is, you know, the girl who doesn't know how to make it stop. And typically this type of girl doesn't know what to say to make it stop. And it doesn't have to be that they're afraid of this friend, but they are maybe have a tiny fear that it'll cause trouble in the friendship. And they actually do like the person, but they just feel like they're getting a little overboard with how much they're hanging out and who they can spend time with and things like that. So first of all, it's great that they notice that and notice how it feels in their body. And I think it teaches them as they get older even about other kinds of relationships as they start dating when they're older, like to pay attention, like, are they possessive? How are they making me feel? And things like that. But that's for another episode. So that's another one. Another is when there are three friends. So my mom always said this to me, three's a crowd. And she would always talk about like, three's a crowd. You know, whenever I would have friends over, she always wanted me to invite even numbers because 9 times out of 10, someone would feel left out when there are 3 people. And it's not because I was with bad people or whatever the situation would be. It's that it's hard to share time with 3 people. And I think you have to be very secure in your other friendship and your other 2 people that are with you. And that's developmental. Like that's something, you know, within friendships that we're always developing and working on. So I think it just depends on the situation and who the 3 people are, but it does tend to add an extra element of challenge at times. So three's a crowd is one of them. And then another is when a new friend comes into the mix and your daughter is already close with one friend. So this could look like you're really good friends. Your daughter's really good friends with this one girl. So this happened with me. My across the street friend, Beth, who I adored and loved and just could not get enough of spending time with her. And I wasn't necessarily possessive, but I was jealous when other people would hang out with us because I felt like she was my best friend. And I think there's also a pressure attached to girls having one best friend when really you can be best friends or close friends with a lot of people. And yes, there are going to be ones that you feel closer to than others, and that's normal. But I think there can be this feeling that girls have that sometimes they don't want to admit, that they're a little bit jealous when someone else comes into the mix and hangs out. So when I was with my friend, like, she had this tree house in her backyard, and she was like my favorite person. And I loved it better when it was just her and I. We would just like make believe. We would, climb in her treehouse, and we would just do fun things. We were really great together. But when she invited one or two other people, I felt like I had to split my time. And then I felt like I didn't really hang out with her that much because I was also interacting with the other girls. So there's a time and place for both. I think girls need to know how to get along in a group. You can't always depend on a one-on-one situation at all times. And there's just a lesson with, like, both are good. It's good to be around different types of friends. A mom told me the other day that her daughter goes on Friday nights to this one girl's house, and they crochet and they hang out and they talk about like real things, and they really enjoy it. It's like a 3-hour hangout. And then she has another friend who they don't really go that deep, but they also have fun and they laugh and they do different things. So it's really good to have a variety of friends in your girl's life, in your daughter's life. And so those are some common problems that can come up, is those things. And so your daughter might feel kind of confused, especially if she is a good friend to people. She might feel a little bad that she's feeling possessive or she's feeling jealous. And it might be hard for her to talk about that because she might feel like she knows she shouldn't really feel jealous, but also jealousy is a valid emotion. Like, it's good to have conversations about jealousy, because I think people tend to be like, no, don't be jealous. You're not allowed to be. And it's like, well, every feeling is valid. I mean, we're all human. We're all going to feel a variety of things. And so teaching her how to work through jealousy and really examine, like, why are you jealous? And it typically comes with like some fear of losing a friendship, or not fitting in as much as you thought. Like, those are very common kind of underlying reasons that girls could feel jealous, or feeling they're not as good as, or they're not liked as well, or something. There's like that comparison thing that can come up too. And I think even with women today, like, all these feelings can come up, especially if we were insecure about them growing up like I was. So there could be some confusion. She could be feeling kind of stuck, like, I don't really know how to solve it. Like, I have this friend who's super possessive. I don't know what to do. And she could have a mix of feelings. There could be some confusion, also not wanting to lose the friendship. So I think it's clear, when a friendship is bad for you, like they don't treat you well, you feel bad, you feel nervous when you're around them, teaching your daughter or the girl in your life that those are all signs that you should pay attention to. And other things too, but just teaching her how that feels and like how she should pay attention to those things is important. I also think it's common as a caregiver of a girl, mom, dad, whoever you are to this girl in your life, to want to wonder if you should say something to the other parent that this is going on with. And I think that it is such a slippery slope with that, because you don't want to solve your daughter's problems for her. And then at the same time, if it's turning into a very aggressive situation, or it's starting to cross that line, it's like, when do I say something, or do I? So I always go the route of like giving your daughter the tools first, because I think the more we empower them to take control over situations like this, even if they're shy people, there are ways to do it in a way that feels like her. And also, it's good to push them out of their comfort zone to communicate, because I think a lot of girls tend to not say anything, or they will say everything. Like, I hear the two extremes. So like, there's not a filter, or I'll hear that they just say nothing. And of course there's in between too, but those are like the far extremes. So wondering if you should say something, if it's consistently crossing the line and you feel like it's very, very, very upsetting your daughter, like you've helped your daughter try different things and it's just not working, then it might be, a time. But I really would err on the caution side, because it also can cause more conflict, and there can be things that you don't know about the situation because you're only hearing one side and all of that. So I think it just adds a level of difficulty. And, we all love our girls and we want to step in and help them. And there are times to do that. And I think that's totally fine too. Like the situation with 3 girls yesterday. I tried to let them work it out themselves first. It was going on for a long period of time within Girls Positivity Club, starting to affect how they were interacting in the group and things like that. So in that moment, I did step in and find out what was going on. And it's not that I solved it for them, but I helped them come up with some solutions. So there's nothing wrong with that. I just think, feeling out the situation, knowing your daughter, knowing the situation you're in, is really important. So in this case, these girls were not coming to any agreement, and there was crying and there was upset, and the girl was stuck, like she didn't know what to do because the 2 girls were fighting over her. And so it's all about sometimes setting boundaries, and also with helping her compromise and figure out a solution. So one choice and possible outcome is that she ends the friendship because it's just not working out. And this would be after trying a lot of things, it's just not working out as a friendship. That is one option. That's the extreme option. And I would say this would be if they've tried lots of things and nothing's really working, nothing's changing, and she's feeling worse being around the friend more than she's feeling good. Then I think there are times when we just have to end friendships. But most of the time, it really is about setting a boundary and teaching your daughter the words to say that. So I was talking to a girl dad actually in Arizona last week, and his daughter, who is 4 years old, so yes, I believe this is totally doable when they're young, set a boundary with her friend and said, I don't like what you're saying to me. I need some time alone. It was very assertive, but not rude. It was very just clear. And he said that they had been working with her on that for a long time, like that it's okay to say you need space and that you don't like something. And she didn't insult the girl. She didn't say anything bad, but the other adult with that other girl didn't know how to take it and said that, she was being rude and all this stuff. And he was like, no, we're actually just teaching her how to voice her boundaries. And I think that's really beautiful. And so I praised him for that and said, how amazing that you're teaching her that right away. He's like, yeah, we don't tell her to do it in a mean way. We just tell her, ask for what you need. And not everybody's going to like that. So helping her voice that in a way that feels like her. So in this case, I need space. I really love our friendship, but sometimes I like to play with other people. Or as an older girl, I love spending time with you. When I'm hanging out with other friends, it doesn't mean that I like you any less. It just means I like to do a variety of things with other people. So the example of the middle school girl I gave who crochets with this friend, and I mean, crocheting is like it's a specific thing that people like to do. So that's her friend she likes to crochet with and talk and draw and watch movies with. And the other girl that I described, like she doesn't do those things. So it would be okay for the girl to say, I love our friendship. We have so much fun when we play video games and we hang out and we make up dances in our basement. But I also like to hang out with this other girl and we do other things. So it's not a competition. It doesn't mean that I like her better than you. I just like doing different things with different people. So I think saying it in that way and just being like, I like to do things with other people too. We're still good friends. I need you to not make me feel bad when I hang out with other people. I think had I said that, or had my friend said that to me, even in the treehouse situation, not in a rude way, but just be like, hey, Melissa, I really love hanging out. I also like it when other people come over because we can pretend in new ways, or we can, make up group dances together or whatever it is. So that is really important, either setting that boundary and teaching your daughter how to compromise. So yesterday with the girls, I taught them how to compromise. So what we did is I said, what could we do that would make it so that you both can hang out with her? And I was like, do you want to hang out with both of them? She's like, yes, but it's not working when we're all together. And she was voicing this as a kindergartner. So it is very possible. Please don't think that they have to be old to do these things. So what we decided was that one of the girls was going to do one activity with her because we had 2 activities. I had a volunteer with me. So she was doing a different activity than me. And then the other time, then she was going to be with the other girl. So it was going to be splitting her time. And everyone was okay with that. And it worked. And then the next, she was like, yeah, but she was with her 2 times. So in kindergarten at a young age, they can tend to keep track of how many times something. So it can be teaching them like fair doesn't always mean equal. Doesn't mean it has to be 2 times. Or it can be, in this case, I said, that's fine. Like next time you can start with her and then the other girl will finish with her. Like, so there's always a way to figure it out in a way that makes everybody feel good. And also praising for when those things happen. The girl dad that I was talking to in Arizona, he praised her for that. Even though it wasn't well received by the other parent, he was like, I'm super proud of you for saying what you needed in that moment with your friend. I think acknowledging that is really important. And I did the same thing with the girls yesterday. I told them that it was really great that they were able to come up with something. There wasn't one person. Now, I think a couple, they didn't love that they had to share, but I think they realized that it was better than nothing. I praise them for that they worked together to solve it. And really that's all it is. It's being open about it, not avoiding it, and teaching girls how to do that is so powerful and important as they're growing up. That way it doesn't become this huge deal as they're older, even though it can still feel uncomfortable. So the second thing was teaching her how to compromise. So number 1 was ending or limiting friendships or setting boundaries, then compromising. The third thing is teaching her that it's okay not to please everyone. I think it's very common to have people-pleasing tendencies when you're a girl because that's how in society we are taught to be polite, to be kind, and yes, you should be. Like those are all great things. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you always have to please everyone for the sake of pleasing them. Like you don't have to do everything everyone says. That was really hard for me, and I still work on it today, it's okay if not everybody likes what you have to say. Doesn't mean you're mean. It's okay for you to voice what you're thinking, and it's okay. Like your friends don't have to be happy with you at all times. Like conflict, I say this to the girls all the time, conflict in friendship is normal because you have to have a little bit of it to all get what you need out of your friendship. So it doesn't mean you should have conflict all the time. To me, that's a red flag. But you should be able to have hard conversations. And it doesn't mean you're all ganging up on one person or that it has to be aggressive. It just means avoiding a hard conversation has never really worked out because there's always going to be one person that doesn't get what they need in the friendship. So teaching her and talking through the fact that it's okay if the possessive friend is like, you can only hang out with me on, I don't want you to go to that girl's house on Friday nights anymore. Like, I want you to come to my house. It's totally okay to be like, I know you're not going to like this, but I am going to go to her house and then we can hang out tomorrow. And that's, it doesn't have to turn into a thing with, I have to make every single person happy. It's the communication. The last thing is, it's the communication that's so important. And I hear this from girls all the time, that they avoid talking about these hard things. So I touched on that and, just now. And it really is about giving her the starter. Because they often don't know how to start the conversation. Because you don't want to be like, I want to tell you something, like come across in a way that, because you like this person, you're friends with them. I hear a lot, I don't want to make my friends mad. And again, it's normalizing, like it's okay not to agree on everything. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be good friends. It just means that you have to say what you're feeling or they'll never know. So I always say, like, what's worse? You just going along with everything and being miserable, or feeling a little bit uncomfortable in that moment and bringing up the thing that be like, can I talk to you about something real quick that's been on my mind? And that's a very easy, oh yeah, sure. It's like asking and getting that in. So just giving her words to say it. And I always say, like, start in your I statements, like always stay in the I. Like I learned that in therapy and through teaching. Like it just always, and being a human, like it always works out better when you're like, I feel. So it's always like that, because the difference is if you bring something up and you say, you always, or you do this to me and you do that to me, it puts the person on the defensive. So it's teaching her to say, can we talk for a sec? Yeah, sure. What's up? I feel like lately we've been hanging out a lot and I love hanging out with you. I also want to hang out with other people. So I want you to know that if I ever say to you that I have plans, it doesn't mean that I don't like you as a friend and we're not close. It just means I also like to do stuff with other people. We have different interests and I just like that. So that could be like that older kid way to say it. And then as a young kid, it could be a young girl. It could be, can we talk? And they could say yes and say, I love playing with you. I feel like I want to also play with other people. So it really sounds the same. It's just kind of flipping the situation. I want to play with other people too at recess. Or can we all play together? Let's invite some other people too. I love playing make-believe with you, but I also like to do that with these two other people. Would you mind if we include them? Or how about if we include them? And if they're like, no, I only like to play with you, then that's when they can set that boundary and say what they need. So it really opens that up. And I think the more you build that muscle of having that communication with friends and pushing through the discomfort of saying, hey, this is what I need, or hey, can we talk for a sec, and just tell how they're really feeling, the more they do that, the more they'll build that muscle and the more natural it will feel. And it's still not easy all the time, but at least it would give them the tools to know what to do. Because no one wants to be in a friendship where you pretend that everything's perfect or you only go along with what everybody else wants to do so you don't rock the boat. Everybody deserves to get what they need out of their friendships. And I think that's where girls can get a bad rep for friendships, because there can tend to be one person who can be dominant in that group of friends who wants to have that control and kind of gets possessive about who hangs out where and what's going on and why did they hang out. And then it can create like gossip and just some hairy situations. So teaching them all along, no matter what their age, how to communicate is really, really important. So I hope that was helpful for you today. I would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss an episode. And if you feel like this is helpful, giving it a 5-star review would be so helpful, and it would help others know that it's a valuable podcast. I hope you're getting value out of this. That's my intention, is that I always provide things that I think are relevant in girls' lives, since I'm around them all the time, and that can help you and that are easy to put into your everyday life. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.